Yo, what's going on? I've been back in today. We had a brand new video this time talking about the new bill in the news and headlines going about mortgage-free and rent-free for a full year for everybody. I don't want to break down the points for that, but I already recorded this video and went to edit it, and the SD card broke on me or whatever, so the files were lost. So we're going to kind of dumb this video down just because I want to speed up and get it edited and get it uploaded by a certain day, which would be, irrelevant to the video right now because it doesn't matter. But we're just gonna go through. I have a list of stuff, points through for the bill and things like that that we're gonna go over a little bit and do it more in a quick kind of way to kind of cover all this different information on this bill. So the bill is, in fact, for a year of basically rent-free or mortgage-free. Meaning you don't have to pay your mortgage or your rent. You like live for kind of free, like you have a place to stay that you don't have to pay for. But the bill is kind of weird, whereas like I don't know if it defines this or not, but like mortgages, is it going to pay down like the principal part of the mortgage? So that would mean whoever has a mortgage is actually getting a great deal because they're gaining equity for free in their property, whereas someone who's renting is still getting to rent for free, but they aren't gaining anything from that free money. They have a place to stay, but they're not earning any like equity into a property or anything like that. So I got these notes down on my phone here, talking about, we're gonna start with the rent payments section of like the rent here. Basically it means you'd have 1 year of rent forgiveness, so you would have no rent that would affect your credit. So not paying your rent wouldn't affect your credit because you don't have rent. It would cover that, it would protect that, and give you that rent-free stuff with no harm to your credit score. It must be your primary residence. It's pretty obvious. Got to be the place you live. Can't be a vacation house you have, a second or third house you have. It's got to be your primary residence. You'll have no fines for non-payment, and you will have no unpaid rent that is debt, and you won't be liable for repayment. Kind of redundant there in that bill. I mean, debt would be the repayment part, but to each their own. It's pretty normal stuff. Nothing too outlandish. Everything here is kind of showing like you get the rent-free stuff. No hit to your credit score. No debt on rent. No need to repay it. It would just be for a full year of no rent, which everybody loves. It'd be free money. But this wouldn't be the same for everybody. You would have people who rent like the $1,000 a month places that they just get to live in. And then you have someone who might rent like the $20,000 beachfront condo where, they can afford that and they still can afford it even throughout these times and don't need it to be paid for. But they'll be substantially better off saving 20 grand a month where they don't even need to save it, compared to someone who, you get to save the $1,000 and that's going to help them, but it's not the same level, just not everyone's like treated the same kind of, and it could be taken advantage of pretty easily. Moving on, we got mortgage payments. So same thing, kind of like the little words of what it means for right now, and it would be your mortgage payment would be canceled for a year, same as the rent. It has to be your primary residence. You're not liable for payments, so you don't have to make those payments. There'd be no foreclosures allowed. You would have no fees or penalties, meaning, at the end of this, there wouldn't be a big bulk fee for not paying your mortgage from the bank or anything like that. And there would be no impact to your credit score. So very similar to how the rent is, basically almost the same things. But mortgage and rent obviously are two very different things. I wonder if it's going to be like the interest only portion paid for, so that you're not gaining any ground on your mortgage, which would kind of suck if you could still make those payments. And meaning like you get a year where you don't earn equity in your property, which would be a problem. I wouldn't like that. So hopefully, I don't know if we can figure this thing out, but obviously if you get mortgage like canceled, and it goes towards your principal, then you're at a way bigger advantage than someone who's renting currently. So in this bill, it is open to everyone and anyone. Like I said, it could be someone who is renting that $20,000 beachfront property, or someone who is just renting an apartment for $1,000 a month trying to get by It's open to everyone. Doesn't matter how much money you make. Doesn't matter anything. So maybe it's like a good thing in theory, but I don't know if it would actually work out in practice, being given to everybody, regardless if you need it or not, or being an option for everybody regardless if you need it or not. One thing I want to cover is there's going to be a landlord relief fund that they're going to put in there. So obviously if people don't have to pay rent, landlords would not be gaining any money from their properties, from their renting properties. So basically that goes as follows. You would have a rent freeze for 5 years, which means you cannot raise that rent for that property for that period of time. There can be no just cause evictions. You can't evict a tenant because you don't like them, because you want to. There can be no income discrimination. During a vacancy, it must be available for government assistance programs, and you only receive amount of rent from before the illness. So there's a couple things here where it's a little scary if you're a landlord and you need to take this fund because you don't have either the funds to keep it going for a year of no rent. That's a long time. First off, a rent freeze for 5 years would be huge, basically meaning you cannot increase the rent of that property for the next 5 years. All the living costs, the expenses that go up, repairs that go up, anything that comes up, you're not allowed to up the rent. You have to keep that rent. And it has to be the rent from before this outbreak occurred. So whatever you were getting before this is what you're going to be getting for the next 5 years, which is tough to lock into. 5 years is a long time to lock into a rent price and not even have the option to up it at any time. So, I mean, you could fall into losses within that 5 years on properties because of, living expense going up, property taxes going up, fixes, if you need to fix something, or that cost of fixing things goes up. There's a lot of things that can impact your ability to make a profit from rentals if you're forced into this kind of fund. I mean, I don't think I would take this fund if I was a landlord. Try and find a way to get around this and not have to go into this, because it just, from these details, it's just not a good-looking long-term thing to get into. And finally, what we're going to cover with this is actually doing this would be cheaper than giving everybody $2,000 a month for that year period or 6-month period, whatever they were talking about. Basically, the numbers break down like this. Right now, there's mortgages outstanding to $529 billion a year. The rent outstanding is $768 billion a year. So that total cost would be around $1.3 trillion for the entire year to just freeze everything and not have anyone pay their mortgages or rent, compared to, that $2K a month. I did a video on this before, and I think the total cost for like 6 months was like $2.4 trillion, something like that. It was somewhere around those lines, close to 3. And I know for the year it'd be around like $6 trillion. So very, very cheaper doing it this way. So I know why it may be being talked about, because it'd be a big break for people not to have to worry about making their rent payments or mortgages. That would be a good break. I just don't know about going about it, making it just anyone and everyone can just do it, and affecting how it can affect landlords and their ability to make money off their properties and stuff. There's a lot of things to be talked about into this fund, or this bill. And a big thing talking about the real estate market is there's been a lot of talk about it being in decline, going down like 6 to 10% within the following year. So within this year, next year. And who knows how that can affect the entire market. Obviously not a good thing, not something we want to see. And for me thinking about wanting to buy a rental property and stuff like that, I just don't know if it's the time to do it. Mortgage rates are down and really good, but I just don't know if you can find the renters right now, and all this stuff that's going on, and maybe these types of bills that might pass where now you're going rent free for a year. It's just, who knows what's going to happen. So we got to figure this out. We got to see what happens. But as for this bill, I think it's more stuff just being kind of talked about and discussed and released as headlines to make the news and stuff, get people talking. But I don't know if it's going to pass. It's not even being debated. It's not like the $2K a month thing that's being debated now. It's just an idea, so who knows what's going to happen. But guys, as always, don't forget to smash that sub button, smash the like button, and I will see you guys in my next video.